Greetings, I am Mr. O'Neill and I teach English Language Arts online for Stride K-12, and let's cover how to write a literary essay, which is a type of informational essay. You will be successful and I believe in you. You can grow your brain with a little bit of grit, a little bit of perseverance, a little bit of stick-to-itiveness. You will be successful and I believe in you. You can develop and grow your brain. Step one, select a poem or a short story that you're going to analyze, whatever piece of literature that you want to analyze. And then your introduction paragraph should start with an attention grabber. And you don't even necessarily have to name the poem in your first sentence, although you could. So interestingly, one idea in the poem blank is blank. It's intriguing that the poem blank encourages the reader to think about blank. So grab the reader's attention. What is the most interesting little detail that you can think of about that poem or a short story or a piece of literature that you're analyzing? And then the second sentence in your introduction paragraph is explain why the poem is important. So this is where you definitely want to name the poem if you haven't named the poem yet, and encourage the reader to think about why the poem is important. And not just something that's interesting about the poem, which you stated in your first sentence, but explain why it's important. And by the way, in the description of this video, there's a link for this graphic organizer if you would like to have a copy of it. And the third sentence of your introduction paragraph is your thesis statement. So describe the main theme of the poem. The main theme of the poem is blank. The main lesson to be learned from the name of the poem is blank, or whatever piece of literature you're analyzing. And then your last sentence for your introduction paragraph, explain why the theme is important for readers at any age. So we already explained why the poem is important earlier in our context sentence, but there's always more context that you can bring to that. So go further into that context. Why is the poem or short story important for any reader at any age? Just an idea. Provide some more context. Paragraph number 2, first body paragraph. Paragraph topic sentence describes what the whole body paragraph is about, and it supports the theme. So, one idea that supports the theme is blank. There are better ways that you can phrase these sentences, but I'm just giving you some basic sentence starters that you can use if you need them. So remember, the first sentence of your body paragraph needs to support the main theme. And I'll show you some examples in a little bit. Use several supporting details from the poem's text to support your topic sentences. So quotations, paraphrasing, examples. Write at least 2 sentences here. So to support this idea, one example from the text is blank. Paraphrasing from the text, the narrator is describing the importance of blank. One quote that supports this idea is blank. So the next 2 sentences in your body paragraph could be a quotation, could be paraphrasing, could be examples. Write some analysis, cite some text evidence. Lastly, it's good to end your body paragraph with your own analysis if you didn't write your own analysis in the middle part of your body paragraph. So the reader can relate to this idea because everyone experiences, and then what idea did you just talk about? The grieving process, love, curiosity, happiness, a sense of belonging, honoring our ancestors, could be anything. What lesson or what idea were you exploring in that body paragraph? Or one could make an inference that the author believes blank because blank. Maybe the author discussed the principle of honoring our ancestors, but the author didn't explicitly discuss how honoring our ancestors should be carried on across all cultures and all time. So maybe you would make an inference that the author believes not just we need to honor our ancestors right now in one culture, but honoring our ancestors should hold true for all time across all cultures. Maybe you could make that inference, even if the author doesn't explicitly state that. So write some analysis. Remember, An inference is an educated guess that the reader makes based on text evidence from the text. You're not providing your own opinion. You're not providing your own biases. You're simply making an educated guess or an inference on what you think the author would believe based on text evidence. And we'll go through some examples. You're going to repeat that same process for your second body paragraph. So describe another idea that supports the theme. Remember, the paragraph topic sentence describes what the whole body paragraph is about, and it supports the theme. Again, support your paragraph topic sentence by going into some details, quotations, paraphrasing, examples, and we'll take a look at some examples in a bit. Again, it's good to end these body paragraphs with writing your own analysis. It's better not to end your body paragraph with a quotation or paraphrasing. It's better structurally to end your body paragraph with writing your own analysis. Make an inference. What would the author most likely believe that they did not plainly state in the text? Before you get to your conclusion paragraph, repeat the body paragraph process as many times as you need, as many body paragraphs as you need. Repeat that process. When you have enough body paragraphs, conclusion paragraph, restate the thesis statement, should be your first sentence. Restate each of your paragraph topic sentences. Sometimes you could combine this into one sentence. If each of your body paragraph topic sentences are extremely similar, you could combine those into one sentence, just for the sake of brevity, being concise. Lastly, ask the reader to consider if the theme connects to real life in some way. So did the lessons in this poem or short story apply to everyone, regardless of where people live? Why or why not? Do the lessons in this poem remain relevant for all time? Why or why not? These are some questions that you could ask the reader. Make sure that you're speaking in third person, formal. Don't use I, me, we. Use he, she, they, them. Third person formal. Just some ideas on how you could end your essay. Do the lessons in the poem or short story apply to everyone, regardless of what culture they're in, regardless of where people live? Why or why not? Do the lessons in the poem remain relevant for all time? Why or why not? And you don't have to answer these questions. Just let the questions sit with the reader so that the reader has something to ponder and think about after they read your essay. Because that's the goal. You want your reader to think about the content of your essay after they have finished reading it. So it's a good idea to end your literary essay with one or two questions to really get the reader to think. Because that's the point of reading and writing, is encouraging one another to think critically. Okay, so we'll take a look at The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And if we were to write a literary essay about that poem and grab the reader's attention, we could say, what is more exciting than British soldiers fighting to the death to protect territory and England? Well, we can spice that up a little bit, because the reader knows that British soldiers already fight for England, so we don't have to be redundant there. So instead of telling the reader, we're going to show the reader. So imagine British soldiers fighting with every heartbeat to the death. That's a little bit more exciting, and we're grabbing the reader's attention a little bit more effectively there. Again, we don't have to tell the reader to be excited. We're just allowing the reader to be excited on their own. So we can omit the word exciting, because we are encouraging the reader to be excited without actually telling them to be excited. Okay, context sentence. We need to give some context to this attention grabber. So next sentence. In Tennyson's The Charge of the Light Brigade, British soldiers are outnumbered against the Cossacks and the Russians, but the British fight with honor and bravery. So now the reader knows, okay, we're talking about the Charge of the Light Brigade. We've named the poem in the context sentence, whereas we did not name the poem in the attention grabber sentence. And we know that the British soldiers are outnumbered, so on and so forth. What's the main theme of the poem? It's important to honor soldiers who died in previous wars or conflicts. Provide some more context. write your paragraph topic sentence, just as we discussed earlier. And I'll show you an example. Okay, so here is a full essay that I wrote, and I used the graphic organizer first. And then when I finished the graphic organizer, I copied and pasted sentences from my graphic organizer into a new blank Word document here. And this shows you how effective the graphic organizer can be at writing a full essay. So the graphic organizer walks you step by step on how to write the essay, sentence by sentence. When you finish all of your sentences in those green boxes in the graphic organizer, you'll just copy your wonderful sentences from those green boxes in the graphic organizer into a new Word document and write your final draft, just like I did. So the final draft writes itself because you've already written these sentences in the graphic organizer. What is more exciting than British soldiers fighting to the death to protect territory in England? Well, we actually made an adjustment to that, remember? There, I fixed it. Imagine British soldiers fighting with every heartbeat to the death. That's a lot more exciting. And we're not telling the reader they have to be excited. We're showing them that they should be excited based on this description. Context sentence. In Tennyson's The Charge of the Light Brigade, British soldiers are outnumbered against the Cossacks and the Russians, but the British fight with honor and bravery. It's important to honor soldiers who died in previous wars or conflicts. This theme is important for readers of any age because everyone benefits from soldiers defending their nation. Stanza 3 supports the idea that it's important to honor soldiers who died in previous wars or conflicts. So we know this whole body paragraph is going to analyze stanza 3 and how stanza 3 supports that main theme of how we need to honor soldiers. Tennyson writes, quote, "Cannon in front of them volleyed and thundered. Boldly they rode and well into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell." This text evidence demonstrates the bravery soldiers must have in battle. In the third stanza, Tennyson doesn't plainly state soldiers need to be honored, but the reader can make an inference that Tennyson is arguing in favor of honoring soldiers. So again, it's important to make an inference as a reader. Remember, an inference is not your opinion or your bias. An inference is an educated guess based on text evidence. We have to use text evidence to support our inferences or educated guesses about the text. Stanza 6 supports the idea that it's important to honor the soldiers who died in previous wars or conflicts. Okay, so this whole second body paragraph is going to describe how stanza 6 supports the main theme. Tennyson writes, quote, "When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade. Noble 600. Tennyson repeats the word honor for emphasis, to further argue that we need to honor soldiers. That's just analysis. We're not giving our opinion, we're just analyzing the text. Tennyson doesn't plainly state that soldiers need to be honored for all time, but the reader can certainly make that inference based on the text evidence. When can their glory fade? Hopefully, a soldier's glory will never fade. So again, Tennyson doesn't plainly state that soldiers need to be honored for all time, but based on that text evidence, when can their glory fade? The reader can make a strong inference or educated guess that Tennyson would believe that a soldier's glory would hopefully never fade. Good readers make inferences. Conclusion paragraph. Restate your thesis statement, your main idea. It's important to honor the soldiers who died in previous wars or conflicts. Stanzas 3 and 6 support the idea that it's important to honor the soldiers who died in previous wars or conflicts. So we're combining our two topic sentences into one sentence there. Okay, how are we going to end this conclusion paragraph with a question or two? Soldiers should be honored, but does their glory fade over time? Don't have to answer that question. Just let that question sit with the reader. Would a soldier's glory fade over time? That's a good question. How far into the future does it take for a soldier's glory to fade? Not sure. Let that question just sit with the reader. Don't even have to answer it. And then the reader will continue to think about your essay and the content of the Charge of the Light Brigade well after they finish reading your essay, which is the whole point. Because you want the reader to continue to think about the Charge of the Light Brigade and your essay well after they have finished reading your essay. One last note on citations. It could be that if you're in middle school or high school, your teachers might not need you to put the full MLA citations in your essay because we're all reading out of the same textbook, so it's really obvious where the information is coming from. But if you're in college, then you'll definitely need to write full MLA citations. Just double check the expectations and the directions for your essay in case you do need to write citations for this literary essay. Hopefully this helps, and have a great rest of your day.